All right, yesterday it became official. The 28th Amendment to the United States Constitution, the process has officially started. And it's looking to destroy the Second Amendment. And it started in, of all places, the safety utopia, California. Let's talk about it. Guys, before I jump into it, I want to thank the sponsor of the video, CMMG. You know it's a favorite of mine. That's my Mark 47, the Mutant. And as you can see over my shoulder here, they are now going to be releasing a Mark 47 side-charging Descent. I love the folks at CMMG. I'll be out there in a few weeks to check out some of their new products. And I think I have 5 or 6 of their firearms now, guys and gals. They're made in America by great Americans. And you can save 10%, of course, by using my code, GNG10. I can't tell you how to get there because YouTube. Yeah, so thank you to CMMG, guys and gals. I can't wait to see a side-charging Mark 47. All right, so let's jump into what hit the interwebs yesterday afternoon. And that was big old giant head Gavin Newsom and his California legislature officially starting the process looking to get a 28th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Yeah, it's I've covered this before in June when he first started yapping his trap about it, but now it's official, it's submitted. I want to show you the official version of it because they're going to need help from other states to get this to move. Before I tell you about how many states need to get done and all that craziness, let's look at the potential amendment itself and we'll go from there. It was officially introduced yesterday in California's Senate. It's being called Senate Joint Resolution 7. And as you can see here at the top, it says the measure would apply to the United States Congress to call a constitutional convention under Article 5 of the Constitution of the United States for the purpose of proposing a constitutional amendment relating to firearms as specified. And let's get into it. The bill text. Whereas approximately 49,000 Americans died in 2021 as a result of gun violence, and firearms are the leading cause of death for children under 18 years of age in the United States and the most common method of both homicide and suicide. There's a couple lies in that already. Whereas it is estimated that there are approximately 393 million firearms in civilian hands in the United States as of 2023. So, meaning that firearms now outnumber people in our country. And whereas gun safety laws are proven to lessen the scourge of gun violence, as evidenced by the fact that since some of California's most significant gun safety laws took effect in the early 1990s, California has cut its rate of gun death in half. And the state's gun death rate is 39% lower than the national average as of 2023. And whereas precedents of the Supreme Court of the United States, including its decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, have limited the ability of the states to enact and enforce reasonable restrictions on the public carry of firearms and prompted challenges to many other common sense regulations, such as those allowing law enforcement officials to assess the potential dangerousness of individuals seeking to obtain firearms and prohibit possession of firearms by those deemed dangerous, and those restricting possession of certain particularly dangerous weapons, including weapons of war. And whereas modern technology and capabilities, including semi-automatic firing mechanisms, capacity, range, accuracy, and use of specialized ammunition of the firearms commercially available today make them far more lethal than anything the founders could have imagined in the 18th century, when most weapons needed to be reloaded after every shot. And whereas common sense public safety regulations limiting aspects of firearms acquisition, possession, public carry, and use by individuals, including but not limited to the types of firearms and ammunition that private individuals may possess, categories of private individuals who may not acquire or possess firearms, and locations where private individuals may carry firearms, as well as procedures to ensure that individuals possessing or seeking to acquire or publicly carry firearms will not pose a threat to the safety of themselves or others, or use a firearm in furtherance of otherwise unlawful conduct, are proven to save lives. And whereas amending the United States Constitution as described herein will ensure that federal, state, and local government can effectively pursue common sense solutions to this deadly nationwide problem, consistent with the understanding that throughout American history, private individuals have possessed firearms for home defense, hunting, and recreational purposes, whereas Article 5 of the Constitution of the United States requires the United States Congress to call a constitutional convention upon application of 2/3 of the legislatures of the several states for the purpose of proposing amendments to the United States Constitution. Now, therefore, be it resolved that by the Senate and the Assembly of the State of California jointly, that the legislature of the State of California, speaking on behalf of the people of the State of California, hereby applies to the United States Congress to call a constitutional convention under Article 5 of the Constitution of the United States for the purpose of proposing a constitutional amendment that would do either or both of the following. A. Affirm that federal, state, and local governments may adopt public safety regulations limiting aspects of firearm acquisition, possession, public carry, and use by individuals, and that such regulations are consistent with the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution and the understanding that throughout American history, private individuals have possessed firearms for home defense, hunting, and recreational purposes. B. Impose, as a matter of national policy, the following firearms regulations and prohibitions. 1. Universal background checks as a prerequisite to purchase or acquisition of a firearm. 2. A prohibition on sales, loans, and other transfers of firearms to those under 21 years of age, subject to limited exceptions. 3. A minimum waiting period after the purchase or acquisition of a firearm before that firearm may be delivered to the buyer or acquirer. And 4. A prohibition on the private possession of assault weapons and other weapons of war, and be it further resolved that this application is for a limited constitutional convention and does not grant Congress the authority to call a constitutional convention for any purpose other than those set forth herein, and that this application shall be void if ever used at any stage to consider any constitutional amendments on subjects other than those specified herein, and be it further resolved that this application shall be considered as covering the same subject matter as applications from other states to the United States Congress to call a convention to propose a constitutional amendment for each respective purpose set forth herein, and that this application shall be aggregated with such applications for the purpose of attaining the 2/3 of states necessary to require Congress to call a limited convention on each respective subject, but shall not be aggregated with any other applications on any other subject. And be it further resolved that the State of California intends that this application shall constitute a continuing application considered together with any applications on the respective subject that other states have adopted or may in the future adopt, until such time as 2/3 of the several states have applied for a convention and said convention is convened by Congress. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of the Senate transmit copies of this resolution to the President and Vice President of the United States, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Minority Leader of the House of Representatives, the Majority Leader of the United States Senate, the Minority Leader of the United States Senate, and to each Senator and Representative from California in the Congress of the United States. All right, a lot of words there. Simple. What they're looking to do is to have a constitutional amendment that would address 4 things. Raising the age to 21, universal background checks. Number 3 is a minimum waiting period once you buy a gun till they deliver it. And number 4 is an assault weapon ban, so-called assault weapons. They can't get it done legislatively because the Constitution says, no, you can't do this stuff. So they're going to try to force it into the Constitution while, in their words, leaving the Second Amendment intact. Well, yeah, the Second Amendment will still be there, number 2, but if this were to ever be ratified, then 28 would eviscerate the Second Amendment, and it would basically cease to exist as we know it. Now, there's a couple things here that we need to pay attention to. This process could take years. Well, they usually do take years, and that's the reason why they made this so difficult. Let me show you this. This is from the White House's website. And it was on the website before, Sniffin' Joe. And this explains it a little further for you. The founders also specified a process by which the Constitution may be amended. And since its ratification, the Constitution has been amended 27 times. In order to prevent arbitrary changes, the process for making amendments is quite onerous. An amendment may be proposed by a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress, or, in this case here, if 2/3 of the states request one, by a convention called for that purpose. The amendment must then be ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures, or 3/4 of conventions called in each state for ratification. Well, what does that mean, Jared? Well, rather than go through the Senate and the House and get 2/3 in both chambers, which isn't going to happen, not a chance, they want to go the state route. So they need 2/3 of states to call a convention, and that number is 34. Now, it should be noted that none of the previous 27 amendments to the United States Constitution have ever gone or successfully gone the route of the states, because 34 states is a big number to get, and that's just the beginning. Because once you get the 34 states to agree, you need 3/4 of those states, which is 38, to ratify that proposed amendment, right? So it'll never happen. It's dead as it sits. Why? Because Gavin Newsom is doing this. In his words, it's up to the states to do this. If the states really want it, they'll push it. Well, keep in mind, 34 is the magic number. 27 states are some version of permitless carry. 27. Okay, so if you need 34 and you add 27, we don't have that many states. So that's a good start, right? And Jared, what states are the 27 permitless carry, constitutional carry states? I always have to write it down because I can never remember them. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Maine, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. So 27 states is going to, just that alone, as long as those states stay that way, this is a dead proposal. And then you factor in, there are only 10 states that have an assault weapon ban. So you're going to ask the other 40 states to say, or the other, let's do some quick math, the other 24 states needed to say, you know what, maybe we should just have an assault weapon ban, which would include those states with constitutional carry, permitless carry. Jared, what are the 10 states? California, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Illinois, Washington. So again, I think it's dead. The only other time we had an amendment attempt go the route of the states and almost get that 34 was in the 80s. The 80s, there was an attempt to get a constitutional amendment to force Congress to have a balanced budget every year. They should have had 100% agree on that. I think we fell too short on that, if I remember. I think they got 32 of the 34 states. And that's the closest it's ever been. So this is a very difficult process. It's very onerous. It's pretty much dead in the water, just based off 27 states saying, hey, you know what? Our citizens here, they have this right, and it's not government's job to take away that right. In fact, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, are a contract saying that you can't do this. These are your powers, and if they're not in here, then you can do that. So I wanted to get this to you because everybody's talking about it after it dropped in last night. Late yesterday afternoon. I guess it was like 12 something California time, it was 3, almost 4 o'clock by the time it dropped here in East time. But Gavin Newsom, this is just something he's looking to have in his checkbox when he tries to run for president. Well, I'm so anti-gun. You think Joe Biden's great? Because remember, all these groups just backed him. You think he's great? Look what I did. Joe Biden's never done that. I tried to amend the Constitution to have common sense gun restrictions. Let me know what you guys and gals think down below. If you are a person who regularly talks to your state legislators, you all should be. Start maybe dropping in their mind, absolutely do not back this convention of states for the reason of the 28th Amendment to eviscerate the Second Amendment. Yeah. Guys and gals, I appreciate y'all more than you know. A lot of words today, but it's something that everybody needs to know what's going on. I don't care what state you live in. This can take, this process is alive for 7 years. I believe it's 7 years. A lot can change in 7 years. And they even said it in there, maybe some states will adopt these things and then it'll make it easier. So I'll have a link to this 28th Amendment. It's, again, Senate Joint Resolution number 7 was just submitted yesterday in California's legislature. They cannot take action. Let me just double check on the date. They cannot take action on it until September 14th. 2023 is the soonest that they can actually take action on it as far as a vote. The committee that it's assigned to is actually meeting on this on the 22nd of August this month. So today's the 16th. So next week they're meeting on it. If anything comes out of this, if any other states start to think about this, discuss this, I will let you know. And if you hear your state start to kick this around, because chances are you probably will before I do, let me know. Send me an email, send me a message, let me know. Guys and gals, if you're into the Second Amendment and you want to stay up to date on the constant attempt to deflect the attack on our right to keep and bear arms, then subscribe to this channel down below. I'll bring you that news every day, every single day. And thank you for your support. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.